don't hide who you are. It's okay to sit down with your partner and be yourself, be your authentic self, and even sometimes if you want to discuss those insecurities, discuss those things that about yourself that you have a problem with, or sometimes that you don't like, and put it out there. Be open about it. And then I think once you're open about it, once you talk about something and once you put it out there, it loses its power.
Welcome to Love Lately, the podcast where we dive into the real conversations about love, relationship, and all the joys and challenges that come along with finding love and keeping it after 50.
Okay, so look, whether you're looking for love, starting over, or navigating the ins and outs of long-term commitment, we're just here to share our journey and the insights we've discovered with you.
I'm Lee, and this is my husband, Ron, and we definitely don't have all the answers. Trust me, we do not have all the answers. But we have many questions, and we want to unpack them with you. We will talk about what love looks like in this stage of life and how we can make it work.
So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and join us for honest, heartfelt, faith-filled conversations that remind us all it is never too late for love.
Welcome to Love Lately. All right. Welcome to another episode of Love Lately.
Welcome to Love Lately, people.
Thank you for joining us. Our background, our aesthetics are a little bit different if you're watching us on YouTube or on social media or wherever. We decided we're going to do something a little differently today and just talk about no filters, just being completely authentic. Not that we're ever not authentic. I think we're pretty real when we...
Yeah, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
Our thoughts and our perspectives and how we feel and think about things. But like I said, just to switch it up a little bit and just kind of be our authentic selves and just kind of talk about our dynamic and how we interact and just us and all of our quirks and dysfunctions, if you want to call them that, and the stuff just make the Rogers household the Rogers household.
Yes. So we really want to get into being completely authentic and learning how to accept your partner for who they are.
Yes.
And I think we talked about intimacy, I think, the last time. And the true intimacy is really your partner seeing you, knowing you, loving you just as you are.
Just as you are. With all the, like we mentioned, with all the quirks and...
Right.
And, what some may call, I don't want to say defects, but just all of our little, idiosyncrasies and the stuff that just makes us who we are.
Right.
Those things that we try to cover up and hide because we're sometimes insecure about those things. But feeling free enough to expose those things to our partner, be who we are, and allowing ourselves to be seen and unapologetically.
Yes.
And being comfortable about them.
Yep.
And
so we're going to dig into it. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
All right. So.
Yes.
Let's start with what makes you feel like you can really be yourself in a relationship. Well, with me, I don't want to hear about any other relationships.
Absolutely.
With your wife.
Absolutely. None of us are perfect, and we have these flaws that we've carried for a long time, and those things that sometimes we try to mask and hide because we feel that they're negative or anything. But what I love about our relationship is that I'm just so comfortable with you, comfortable being myself, comfortable in my spirit, comfortable in my thoughts, just knowing that you're my person and I can present myself just as I am.
No, that's good. We're just going to talk. We're just talking. But that didn't start off. It didn't start off like that, right?
No, of course it didn't start out that way. But initially, when we started talking, I knew that our connection was something that I'd never experienced before and nothing that I'd ever felt before. And sometimes when you in those situations, it puts you in a place of peace,
Right.
where
For sure.
it puts you in a place of peace where you feel that you can, and you want to feel in a place of peace where you can let go of those things, be those things, and openly talk about things, openly see them for what they are,
Yes.
openly see them for what they are.
Okay. This is speaking of, we're going to talk about
Yes.
each other's quirks.
Yes.
You will hear a phone go off probably at least 5 times
Yes.
in the next
I have
30
alerts
minutes.
for everything. ESPN, weather.
And his alerts go off all the time.
Yep, at night. But we laugh about those things, and she mentions those things, and it's funny, and meaning that's okay, and for the most part, for me it is. But we laugh about those things, and we make them little jokes and everything,
Yes.
and so.
Meanwhile, I keep my phone on silent all
the time. It's like always on silent, and she never knows if it's ringing or if the word is on fire unless she picks it up and she looks at it. But that's just kind of what
Yes.
makes us different, and we've learned to laugh about those things, and
I think that's kind of like what helps us
Yes.
get through
yes,
to the authenticity and
Yes.
being ourselves. Is I feel like we have really and truly learned how to laugh at each other.
yes, without being offended, without having.
I get more offended. Sometimes I get offended though. But I'm learning to not get offended. Like that's my own mess, not his. And
Yes.
I'm starting to learn how to laugh at myself more.
Yes, but it's funny how we see each other's quirks and those little odd things, even before we're really ready to acknowledge them.
Yes.
I see them
Right.
before she's even ready to acknowledge them and say that they exist,
Right.
and that's a part of her personality. She tries to cover it and hide it, but I see it, and because I see it, I said, okay, that's what that is, and it's okay.
So we recently had something where I honestly, we're over a year in now, and I had this moment of like, oh my God, you like really love me. Because we had an incident where I lost the remote control.
That's one of many incidents, but this is the most recent incident that we're going to talk about.
So I lost the remote control. And to put context to this, my husband is that close to being OCD. Like everything has its place.
Yes.
He's very
Detailed.
ritualed, mechanical, routine, everything, and I am not.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
But it's okay.
But I didn't think it was okay. So I was kind of, because I think I'm pretty successful in life.
Yes. Absolutely.
And I think that, and I do a lot of things, and I can be pretty accomplished, and I think people would assume that I'm really, really OCD, organized, and all this. But I have it is God's grace that has been on my life. Because
Yes.
I'm not, and I can get by, and I have certain things I'm really organized about in my
Yes.
head.
Yes.
But he is very. So when I lost the remote, I was actually scared to tell him because I knew it would just turn into. But then after a while, it was like, oh my gosh, this remote is really lost. Like I'm gonna have to tell him.
Lost. From the time we were sitting in this place here to the time we went upstairs for bed, gone, lost, nowhere to be found.
And it was the next day, I think I was working from home or something. And then sometime in the afternoon, I realized, oh my gosh, I can't find the remote control. And I knew he was going, I think I might have told him maybe when he was leaving work or at the end of the day.
Yes.
And he was going to go to the gym like he does every single day. And I'm like, okay, time is ticking. I need to find this remote because when he comes home, it's going to be, he doesn't make me feel bad, but I was feeling like I don't want that pressure of him like looking for this remote. I did not find it before he got home.
Yes. But I know and understand those things about her. So because of that, I immediately started to make her feel not so much pressure about it, but started to make my jokes about it. I'm like,
Yeah,
well,
yes, I didn't know you were doing that on purpose, so I
yes,
wouldn't feel bad.
yes,
Oh,
yes, baby. Because,
oh.
because her losing, listen, if I put it somewhere and I go back to find whatever it is I'm looking for and it's not there, the first person, where'd you put it? Where is it? Can I have this? Because I need to have it in my possession, because if I
Yes.
don't get it immediately,
Yes.
we'll never find it again.
Yes.
But I said, well, baby, maybe check the garage.
No, first
No,
he
I
said.
said that when we got home.
Oh,
said,
yes, you did.
I said, check the garage, check the mailbox out front. Maybe you carried it out to the mailbox.
Look in the refrigerator.
And I said, look in the refrigerator, look in the freezer, because I understand those things about my wife, and I've always told her that I've known these things since day one, and it's always been.
But no, you didn't tell me that. I didn't find this is okay. Keeping in line with the theme of this about authenticity and loving someone, because after he found it, or how did it get found? I found it.
Yes.
After I found it, and I was like so apologetic and embarrassed and just apologizing.
Because
and
it was in the most unlikely place.
Yes. And so when I was apologizing, I felt really bad. I even said, "Are you going to divorce?" I was joking, but are you going to divorce me over this? Because I'm like, that's so opposite of his world. And I was saying something to that extent, and just all my apologies. And he's like, "Babe, I've always known you've been like this." And I'm like, "What?" Because I try to hide it from people that I can be so kind of flaky. And he's like, "I knew this about you from day one." And that's when I had this like aha moment of, you've seen me, the part of me that I dislike about myself the most, and yet you loved me even
Yes.
with that.
Absolutely. Because I've always said to me, it's cute. It's cute because it's who she is. And when you sometimes, our pastor today talked about moving in different seasons of your lives and then looking at things through different lenses. Mm-hmm. So when you get to a certain point in your life, you just start to see things in a different lens. And sometimes you understand that we all have shortcomings. We all have these little things,
Right.
And sometimes you have to be able to, and acceptance is everything. What I
Yeah.
mean? I can accept this as being exactly the way that it is, the way it's supposed to be at this moment, and it doesn't have to change.
For you to feel
Yes,
like, oh, I can love her more now.
yes,
or
it
better.
doesn't. It doesn't have to change. I've always said, if I walk into a room and I don't like the way the room is arranged, I can rearrange the room in my mind. I can rearrange the room. It doesn't have to change
Wow.
for me to be okay.
Yeah.
I can rearrange it in my mind, my thinking. It's all about the lens in which I'm seeing things through. It all depends on my perspective and how I see things. And if I love her unconditionally, then I learn to love all those things that come along with her. And it's cute to me.
Yeah.
Those are her little cute things. And I'm like, when we found the remote and we found out where it was, I was like, that's not surprising, and then we learn how to laugh about it, and make jokes about it. And I'm the same way. I have this, borderline OCD thing going on where everything for me is structured.
Yes.
Everything has its place. If I remove it from this place, it's going to go back to this place. So
Yeah.
if I need it again, I know where it is. Everything is regimented. With my job, I'm so locked into details, and that's not who she is. And so I'll go to the kitchen and something may be in a different place and I'll go right behind it and just shift it and move it over. And so that's my little thing. And with some people that can be really, really annoying. It can be,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it is.
I mean, it's not annoying to me now, but if you can imagine when we were first
Yes.
married and adjusting and learning how to live with each other. I remember there was one time, so my home office is within earshot of the kitchen, and I could hear him in the kitchen preparing or moving things around, and I heard him under his breath say something like, if you could just put things back where they belong. And I'm like, I come out of my office, I'm like, what? What did you just say? And part of it was, again, if you understand what I just said, I was hiding that part of me that can be just a little bit all over the place. So I'm thinking, oh my God, is he discovering this? And then secondly, I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable in his own home or think, oh my gosh, I married this woman who has stuff everywhere. You know, I'm not going to be happy. I'm out of here. So there was just all kinds of things going through my mind, you know, when we're merging households and realizing these things about each other.
Right.
But again, I love what you were saying about acceptance. So, and then it's acceptance, and also realizing that when you are with someone and you're married to someone, it's really not conditional. So whatever it is that we have discovered, it's like, okay, well, now we will figure out how we're going to adjust to this. Right.
And then you pick and choose. You know, we pick and choose we should pick and choose what's those things that I don't want to say battle because that's the wrong word. We're always building, not battling. And so those things that you want to make such a huge, big fuss about, those things are, you know, minor and small. And sometimes it's just our own little stuff that gets us kind of bothered or kind of peeved about certain things. But those things we just learn to, like I said, accept and adjust to. Now, there are going to come times when we do need to be able to sit down and talk about those large things that could, you know, have a larger effect on our home or our relationship. And that's important that we're able to sit down, be vulnerable, be open, be accepting, open-minded about those things that we need to discuss about, you know, whatever it is that's going on. You know what I mean?
And I think it's also, I think we're realizing that you lean into each other's strengths. Kind of what you were just saying, that there are going to be different seasons or times where his OCD, organized nature, obviously will work well for our relationship, for our household, for different things. And then there are other times where my more free spirit, creative side, go with the flow, will work well. And I think respecting the strengths of your partner and leaning into that when the time comes.
Yeah, and then accepting them, and then because what we're doing right now, this whole, you know, podcast, this is something that I never imagined or thought about. And I'm a pretty, you know, active person. I, you know, like to be involved in different things, but this was something that I never imagined or thought of myself doing. You know, I come home, I have these long days. The work that I do is I have physically demanding days, and sometimes I come home and I just want to shut everything down and do nothing. My wife can work all day, looking at a screen, engaging, talking with people, and come home and never shut it down. And that stretches me. It stretches me, and it kind of puts me in a place of, you know, that's okay, because that can be good for me at certain times, because it stretches me into doing some things that I never even imagined doing, and something that I could probably be good at, or something that could, you know, benefit me. But just being open-minded enough to, like you said, step into each other's strengths. You know, her strength is that she's very creative, and her mind is always going, even after a long day. And I'll come home and I'm ready to close my eyes and relax, and her screen is never closed. She never shuts it down. The phone is never done. She's constantly in this creative mode. And sometimes she would say, well, what are you going to do this evening? And sometimes I'm like, nothing. Absolutely nothing.
And then so that is like teaching me how to rest and relax and just be, which I'm liking that side of myself as well. So it's, I think, just seeing the differences in your partner, whoever you're dating or married to, and realizing if we trust God
Yes.
and believe that God has brought someone into our lives
Yes.
as a partner for a reason,
Yes.
discovering what that is
Yes.
and finding and trusting that.
Yes.
Trusting that.
Yes. Yes. Accepting our weaknesses and our flaws, and also being able to step into each other's strengths.
Yeah.
That's great, because sometimes we can be so focused on the one thing that we miss out on the benefits of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we don't want to miss out on the benefits of it. You know, we're in each other's lives for a reason, and it's up to us to continue to be open-minded enough to find a way to laugh at all the stuff that really doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
shouldn't matter.
Right.
You know, find a way to accept it and make light of it and be okay with it, because those things are gonna constantly come out in us as people. But then stepping into each other's strengths and continue to be able to nurture the relationship and build the relationship, and look at what develops and what comes from that
Right.
relationship.
Yeah.
It could be something awesome and great, but you know, it's all good. You know,
Yeah.
even the stuff that we don't really,
crazy.
even the crazy stuff. Yeah, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if we were to encourage people to really develop more authentic relationships, what are some tips we would give for that? I'll start with my one, and then you can gather your thoughts. My first thing that I'm learning with having a true authentic intimacy and relationship is truly, number one, accepting yourself for who you truly are.
Right.
And I think one of the reasons why I feel so close to my husband and just so honestly free, more free than I've felt in any other relationship, is because through his lens, I have accepted myself. Like the flaws, I mean, even down to, okay, this is like being so TMI, so authentic. I have really dry feet, like really dry feet. And so they will like peel sometimes. They're just dry feet. And of course, you know, you're dating, you try to hide it and everything. And one day he's just like, you know, give me a massage and all that. And he was like, and I'm also very ticklish. And so he was spending a lot of time on my feet. And I'm like, dude, I'm like ticklish on my feet. Why are you on my feet so much? And he's like, because you need lotion. But it was just like, okay, like
Right.
I'm embarrassed, but he sees it, he loves it. And then it's like accepting my flaws, the imperfections of myself, all those things. And then I can just like take it all off and just be free with him. Right. And so that kind of helps lean into that authentic relationship, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
intimacy.
Right. And I think you want to be comfortable in your relationship. You want to be able to be yourself. And so I would just say, don't hide who you are. You know, it's okay to sit down with your partner and be yourself, be your authentic self, you know, and even sometimes if you want to discuss those insecurities, discuss those things that about yourself that you have a problem with, or sometimes that you don't like, you know, and put it out there.
Yeah.
Be open about it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think once you're open about it, once you talk about something and once you put it out there, it loses its power.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
As long as you continue to hide it,
Yes.
as long as you continue to try to cover it up, then there's always that potential for it to be disruptive. Mm-hmm. But once you put it out there and you talk about it, and it loses its power.
Yes.
It has no more power to influence the relationship in a negative way. Now you've made someone aware of it, you're aware of it, and then sometimes you can find yourself laughing about it. You know, your partner is able to see it. It's not a surprise. And then you guys work through those things. You know, if you want to make it a little joke, so if you want to, you know, whatever way you need to get through it. But we don't want those things to have power over ourselves, power over the relationship, you know, and And it's so exhausting trying to cover up and hide those things.
Yes.
It can be so exhausting, you know what I mean? Because, it can be exhausting. I mean, instead of, you know, stuffing all those clothes behind the closet door, hide them.
Right.
Just,
Right.
we know, I know they're there. You don't
Right.
have to,
Right.
you don't have to, try to
Right.
hide them because, that's, I know it's there, and like you said, sometimes your partner can see those things, even if you're not trying to show them.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
expose it, talk
Yeah.
about it, take the power away from it,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So again, number one, accepting yourself. Number two, exposing it, putting it out there, having those hard conversations that are real.
Yes.
And then I also think, just as we're leaning into authenticity and having just more intimacy in our relationships, I think just like also not coming with the mindset of this is just who I am, you need to accept it. Because I've heard a lot of women say that, whether it's in friendships or whatever, relationships. And your partner, I come with the mindset of, I want us to make each other better. So whatever it is that I may bring before you and say, I really am struggling with this, I know I'm a free spirit, I'm creative and everything, but I want to be more organized. Can you help me in
Absolutely.
these areas? And
Yes.
so being okay with letting your partner make you better,
Yes.
I think is really critical.
Yes, absolutely. But that change comes with exposing the flaw
Yes.
first.
Yeah.
You can't, if you want to change, if you want to be better in a certain area, and you want your partner to help you in that area, have enough courage and to talk about it and expose that flaw, because nothing's going to change until you put it out there and expose it first.
Yeah.
So once we're comfortable enough, and you want a partner who you can sit down with and comfortably be yourself, comfortably talk about those flaws and those things that we try to hide, or that we think, oh, I better not show that because he may leave me, she may leave me, this may upend the relationship. We have to be comfortable enough and with someone who we know is mature enough and ready to listen, and then to help us
You're right.
through those things if we want to be helped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking one of the things that you had asked me when we first started dating, maybe our second or third conversation, you had asked, do you have any deal breakers? And I think that's an important question because, and first of all, for you to know your own deal breakers so that you're not a year into a relationship or into a marriage and realize, you know what, one of my deal breakers is I cannot stand a messy person, or free spirit, that's something I cannot. So I think knowing your deal breakers early on and having those conversations so that nobody is wasting their time. But I mean, him being super organized, whatever, was not a deal breaker for me. I mean, the things we talked about, was not a deal breaker. So now we're navigating our way through the differences.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's important. Yeah, you talk about those deal breakers, but then you want to be that person that's willing to listen, accept them, and then you want someone who's willing to help you work on those things, or wants to work on those things.
Yep.
Now if it's just blowing off and they say, well, this is just who I am,
Yeah.
then
that's not a good sign.
That's not a
usually
good sign.
red flag.
Yeah, so it's important to have those conversations, and you want to hear, yeah, I understand, and wherever you want me to help you, then I'm willing to do that.
And again, that's not a good sign, even with being over 50, which is, again, a lot of our target audience and listeners, because sometimes we think, I'm too old, I'm not changing, this is just who I am. And coming in with that kind of fixed mindset is never a good thing, because all of us are capable of change and growth and transformation, and you want to be with someone who supports that. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
With the new seasons that we enter requires a new lens.
Yes.
We have to be able to
Yes.
see things differently, have a different perspective if we're moving into a different season. If we want to move into a different season, then it does require us to see things in a different lens, have a little more grace, receiving of grace, giving of grace, and to be able to see some things differently. We all should be evolving and growing.
Yeah. Well, this has been great.
It's been fun.
Mwah. So I really appreciate my husband for just sticking with me through all the
Thank you, baby.
last minute creative free spirit ideas. But actually he comes up with a lot of our podcast topic ideas. Like I'm like pushing, like, we got to do this, we need to do this, and he's like, again, the methodical routine side of him, he's processing things, and then out of the blue he's like, I have some ideas for our topic, and I'm like, wait, what?
Just keep it simple. Yes.
So anyway, so thank you all for joining us for this episode.
Thank you.
Make sure you subscribe, you share. And we have come up with a little bit of a product.
Yes.
My husband helps. He came up with the idea. So you will be seeing more of that, but you have to subscribe to make sure that you hear about it first. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Love Lately. We hope today's conversation sparked some thoughts and maybe even some inspiration for your own love story.
Remember, love does not have an expiration date. It should always be evolving and growing, and so are we, together.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little encouragement in their love journey.
And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, just drop us a line. We love to hear from you.
Until next time, keep finding, building, and enjoying love lately.